Hey everyone, this is Daniel from Retouch, and you're watching Breaking Bad Retouching Habits. Today's episode is gonna be about the channel mixer adjustment layer, which is often used as a help layer for dodging and burning, but not always the way it should be used. Let me tell you straight away that oftentimes when I'm sent images to analyze people's workflow, the channel mixer adjustment layer often causes a lot of trouble. There are certainly people out there saying that there are no wrong techniques in Photoshop, and it all comes down to practice and your approach on this technique. But in this case, it really is the technique itself that tricks you into thinking you're doing the right thing and you're actually not. Now, let us jump into Photoshop so I can demonstrate you what I'm actually talking about. First of all, I would like to thank my friend Steven for providing us with this image so I can make this episode possible. When you are familiar with the channel mixer adjustment layer being used as a help layer for dodging and burning, chances are you're familiar with the way of setting it to monochrome mode, decreasing the red channel and increasing the blue channel. And this now leaves you with a pretty contrasty black and white conversion of your image. So far, so good. But now let us take a look at what we actually should expect from a help layer that is used as a visual aid for dodging and burning. When we are doing critical dodging and burning, we are working on luminosity differences and surely make decisions based on what we are seeing on our monitors. Therefore, it's essential for us to see what we're actually manipulating in the image. But you also would like to make your life as easy as possible, and this is when help layers come into play. They should help us convert our image into a black and white image and make it more contrasty. The reason for this is, when discarding all color information, we can actually focus on luminosity values only. The colors are not gonna distract us from working, and more so, a black and white image is much more pleasing to our eyes when working over a long time. Further, adding contrast then should enable us to spot certain flaws within skin much more easily. In addition to that, a black and white image is much less stressful to our eyes to look at over a long period of time. So at this point, you might be thinking, isn't this what the channel mix adjustment layer leaves us with? Before I simply answer this question, let us have a look at what can create problems when using this technique. So if you have been using the channel mixer adjustment layer as a help layer in your own work, you might have experienced that the results are not always as clean as you want them to be. You end up with some patchy skin areas or encounter certain color shifts within the skin, mainly oversaturated little spots that are quite noticeable and not really pleasing to look at. In fact, all those problems can be traced back to the incorrect use of this help layer. The reason for this is, when using the channel mixer in this scenario, you are first manipulating the luminosity values of certain colors and then converting it into black and white. This leaves you with a different image, which is not a true representation of what you have been seeing before. When you now take this representation as a reference for what to brighten and what to darken, based on the flawed feedback you get from your help layer, it will trick you into thinking you're doing the right thing as long as you have the help layer activated. When you then deactivate it, you encounter the problems I've mentioned before. And this doesn't necessarily mean you are doing something wrong. You are simply overcorrecting for the wrong feedback you get from your help layer, which is totally unnecessary. Therefore, I would never recommend using this way as a visual aid for dodging and burning. Now, to give you the answer why the channel mixer adjustment layer is still not usable as a help layer, even though it fulfills certain criteria, it still does not deliver a true representation of our colored image. What we need is a conversion based on perceived luminance. But how do we actually achieve this in Photoshop? Well, as always, there are many ways of doing the same thing in Photoshop, and of course, there are multiple ways of achieving a perceived luminance conversion for your image. And it is not that you could not use the channel mix adjustment layer, you just have to know how to use it or how to set it up. If you wanted to use the channel mixer adjustment layer as a help layer for a perceived luminance conversion, you can either set it to color blend mode, or if you know each channel's brightness contribution to the overall luminosity, you could set the values of RGB to 30, 59 and 11 and still get the same result. Alternatively, you can use a black and white adjustment layer that is set to saturation blend mode, or any neutral color layer, be it a white, 50% gray or black color layer that is set to color blend mode. All these three adjustment layers can give you a perceived luminance conversion, which is the ideal help layer for dodging and burning. What is lacking now is the increased contrast, and this might be a reason why the channel mixer adjustment layer could be a first choice to beginners, because it's just one adjustment layer. But to increase contrast, all you have to do now is to add another adjustment layer, which could be a simple curves adjustment, and then brighten the image, darken the image, or add contrast via an S-curve. I hope by the end of this episode I could convince you that the channel mixer adjustment layer with the monochrome mode and red channel down, blue channel up method is not appropriate as a visual aid layer for high-end dodging and burning. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up. If you have Photoshop friends that would enjoy this video, I would appreciate if you pass it on. And if you would like to be informed about future episodes, please subscribe to our channel.